It just doesn't get any better than that. So,
well, and I get like text messages when they send my ballot. I get an automatic text message, and then when I mail it, you can either mail it with a stamp. We're working on hopefully getting like paid postage, which Washington actually has, or you can do ballot box drop. But at each level, I get a text message saying it's on its way. We've received it. It's going to be counted. Like as a geek, that's like the coolest thing in the world to me.
It's way cooler than getting your little sticker, I have to say. Like, people always say, like, but if I don't vote in person, I won't get a sticker. This is way cooler.
Text message. And then you can post it on Twitter and talk about how cool Oregon is.
Yeah.
And everyone's very impressed.
And so, Senator Ron Wyden has been trying for years to take this nationwide. I mean, well before the 2016 election and well before all the recent, voter suppression efforts nationwide, Ron Wyden has been trying to expand this nationwide because it's such a great system.
Well, we don't get stickers in Illinois, or at least in Chicago. Other parts of Illinois might, but in Chicago we don't get stickers anyway, so.
Well, that's a travesty.
That's the least they could do.
Right?
Yeah. We do have very extensive, very accessible early voting, so at least we have that. I will say everyone in Oregon seems awfully smug about the vote by mail. It's like almost enough to make me be no, it's not good.
I try to be encouraging and not smug. Like, I just want to be like, it's so cool and it's so easy. And like, I remember the first time I voted in an election, I was in college and I forgot to do absentee. And a bunch of our friends also did. So we had to drive all over the state in Michigan to vote. So.
Yeah, when I first moved here from New York, I got my voter registration card in the mail, and I was turning it over like, well, but where's my polling place? It doesn't say where my polling place is. I was so confused by it, and then I called, and they were like, your polling place is your house.
I would worry, though, that I would lose the ballot. I'm notorious for, losing, wedding invitations that come to my house and things like that. So I really want vote by email. When they can get to vote by email.
Yeah.
That scares me, though.
It does.
It
scares me a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. They're really great at getting you replacement ballots. Or if you make a mistake, or if you, fill it in and you're like, then you see a video of the candidate you voted for being an asshole, which happened to a friend of mine this year. You can say, shit, I need to redo this, and you can request a new ballot.
So when does the counting happen? Do you have to wait then for your results of your elections?
No.
Ours came in, we had like a watch party, and it came in, and I think a lot of it's helpful because a lot of people do vote really early, so you don't get it all at once.
Okay.
And so there was a bunch of activists that went to a bar and watched it come in, and we knew by about 9:30.
I think the deadline is 8 p.m., so that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're doing it as it comes in. So
yeah, they tabulate them as they get them. Of course, they don't release the results till the polls close, but they tabulate them, and they release return statistics all throughout the open voting period. So, a week ahead of time, they'll say, only 30% of this county's ballots are in or whatever. So you can see what the returns are like.
Like that, I think for the week leading up to it, all of us were refreshing the Secretary of State website going it's only 24%, guys. You need to get out there and do it. So that's as much as, we have a Republican Secretary of State.
I noticed that. That seems odd.
Yeah.
Oh, it is odd. I could go into that.
But thankfully he is, they're still doing okay on the transparency.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I've been watching the California 48th results trickle in for the past week and a half going, I don't know about this vote by mail thing.
Are those still not finalized?
They are not anywhere close to finalized yet.
Oh, my God. Wow.
It's kind of, but it is California. It's ginormous.
Yes, but you would think a congressional district wouldn't be any bigger.
Okay.
Shouldn't it still be around 700,000 people?
Here's the thing. So, as we got the voter data, and then we were trying to get stuff so we can analyze by precinct level. And I'm writing a script in Python so we can kind of analyze the data and then kind of distribute it.
She is such a nerd. Oh my God.
I am a nerd. But so we have a Indivisible organizer in Bend who went to the Secretary of State and got precinct level for each county. And I swear they had a photocopy of like a dot matrix printer thing. And we had to try to get like voter rolls, like voter data off of that. And it was, and each of the counties kind of like do it in their own way, and they have varying levels of technology. So I can imagine trying to consolidate everything across different levels of understanding of what data is.
Yeah, each county does it in their own way. Like I'm a
precinct too.
Each precinct
within the county.
Yeah. It's kind of a mess, but I'm a precinct committee person for my precinct in the Multnomah County Democrats to get I just was curious how many votes I got, because it's just like a write-in thing, and it's, but like other counties had posted those results way before our county did. Our county, it took over a month for those results to come up. I got 731 votes. Woo-hoo. All MS 13, I'm convinced. But I was just shocked at how long it took me to see those results. So it's really, county by county basis.
I have some interesting things about OR2, just because I'm a super dork, but also because I was so surprised by certain things that I was kind of finding out, and things that are linked that you wouldn't necessarily think were linked. So looking at Greg Walden's FEC reports, if you look at his telecom donations, they don't really seem like a big deal. And there's a lot of back and forth on whether or not politicians are voting based on money, or they just are voting for or against net neutrality based on their ideology. And what's interesting about Greg Walden is that he's a huge proponent of or anti-net neutrality, takes a lot of money from telecom companies. But when I looked at the FCC has a broadband map of all every county in the country, and OR2 there are some counties that don't even have a cell phone provider. And when you're a farmer, and this is something I didn't know, when you're a farmer, cutting edge farm technology uses satellites and broadband connections. And so people who are in rural areas that don't have broadband are falling behind the rest of the country. And then also someone had brought up the idea of education. When, your neighbor is, 15 miles away, or the nearest school or whatever, access to education is a huge, huge deal. And broadband internet will connect you with the rest of the world. And to be actively blocking something that would help your constituents so much is something that I didn't really think about, because we kind of take that for granted. And then there was another story when we talk about gun control, when Jamie McLeod-Skinner told us a story about basically when someone knocks on your door in Portland and you don't know who it is, or it's late at night or something, you call the police. In rural Oregon, sometimes the closest way to get to a police station is through Idaho. And so when you what you do is you grab your gun for protection, which is a completely foreign concept, but they're just coming from such a different place. And I think that kind of learning and talking to people, because the whole point is getting someone who represents them in what they need, and not necessarily trying to kind of force our ideology or get as progressive people as possible in that area, even though it would probably be helpful, but just getting someone that better represents their needs. It's just been really interesting to kind of drill down and talk to people about.
That being said, though, that district still favors universal background checks, still favors limits, responsible limits on gun ownership and, sensible gun legislation. And Walden has taken almost $40,000 from the NRA in the last 20 years. So he's their top recipient of money in Oregon.
Also pharmaceutical companies. And he was one of the main proponents of the ACA repeal. I think a lot of what's happened in District 2 has been, it's such a large area, it's really hard to organize across. And then they just really need help in getting the word out. And I think that's what, if you are a progressive person in a very progressive area, I think it's important to kind of help them spread the message of what they need without coming in and being like, well, we have all the answers.
That's the great thing about Jamie McLeod-Skinner. She was raised there. She really understands the needs of that district.
When you were talking about broadband access, another thing that is needed in rural areas is telehealth. because it can be so far to the nearest hospital, and you can't do telehealth if you don't have internet access.
Right.
That's a good point.
Jamie brought that up, that like when she talks about access to healthcare in Portland, we go, wait, we want more than access to healthcare. And Jamie's like, no, but they like really need access to it. Like they don't have access. So like kind of thinking about the way that we're talking, you know, about issues and kind of putting ourselves in that position and recognizing that like not everything is like this liberal mecca and not everyone has access to everything. It's just been really enlightening.
And healthcare jobs in the Oregon 2nd District, that's one of the, if not the biggest job sector, it's one of the biggest job sectors. So Greg Walden, you know, dismantling the ACA is a double whammy for his constituents because they're going to lose their health insurance and a lot of them are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah, and the idea that, like, I don't know if he's banking on the fact that, like, they don't have access to information, and so, you know, they can't just, like, Google his FEC filings, like, yeah, because, like, he's so clearly working against his constituents' interests, and I cannot, like, I don't know how he's gotten away with it so far. I don't think he's going to this time. I think people are, like, the energy is kind of crazy in that area for such a small, or for such a rural area. I think that everyone's going to be very surprised.
Well, I hope so. That'll be excellent.
Yeah, I keep saying that this race is going to be like the sleeper race of the midterms because it hasn't been identified by any of the national organizations that are watching these things, you know, Swing Left or the DCCC, you know, they haven't identified this as a race that they're going to really invest in. But I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a very interesting conversation about Oregon politics, and I'm really thankful to Megan and Rebecca for telling us all about Oregon politics. I love Oregon, and I hope I can get back there sometime and visit you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
It'd be amazing. Yeah.
Come anytime.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Justine. And we make up the Cutaways podcast.
We're watching the good, the bad, and the essentials of the romantic comedy genre.
So far, we've fallen in love with Cary Grant, met up with our terrible friend, Pal Joey, and had the desire to run our fingers through Patrick Dempsey's hair.
Join our slumber party for your ears every other week, brought to you in stereo from our blanket fort in Hollywood, California.
You can find and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcatcher. Our digital blanket fort can be found at thecutaways.com.
If you are the social butterfly types, you can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as @Cutaways Podcast.
Bye!
Hi, everyone. This is Kelly with Two Broads Talking Politics, and I'm here in this segment with Jamie McLeod-Skinner, who is running for Congress in the Oregon 2nd Congressional District. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for talking to me. So, could we start with just a little bit of background? Why are you running for Congress?
I am running for Congress because people in my district, and I think really throughout the country, are hurting. There's a growing sense of hopelessness and frustration with the direction of our country. I think people are also scared, and this is really a time for leadership, for stepping up, having a sensible approach to politics, pragmatic, but also just getting the job done. And I think people are hungry for that. I think people across the political spectrum are looking to get past the divisiveness and to really just take care of the issues we need to take care of so we can take care of our families and our community. And so that's really the bulk of the makeup of the folks in my district. And our current representative is not getting that job done. So that's why I'm running against him.
And what is your background coming into this? Do you have any history with politics?
Yeah, I actually served on a city council, on the Santa Clara City Council for 8 years. I was actually born in Wisconsin, spent a few years of my childhood overseas in East Africa. My mom took a teaching job there. But I finished high school in Southern Oregon. My mom taught in Southern and Central Oregon for most of her career. And my wife's family's been ranching in Eastern Oregon for over 100 years. So I've got strong roots in the district. My district covers Southern, Central, and Eastern Oregon. It's about 2/3 the size of the state of Oregon. and includes some urban but mostly rural areas. And my professional background is in engineering,